Welcome back. Well, President Trump narrowing down his list of Supreme Court candidates to the final four. And our next guest argues in his new op-ed that, quote, Trump should nominate Amy Coney Barrett to the Supreme Court to save his presidency. A big statement here with his case. Chicago federal court litigator Andrew Stoltmann. He is the first guest. This morning, we're going to profile all four of the candidates. You're the first out the gates. We appreciate your time with us, Andrew. Make the case for us. First of all, who is Amy Coney Barrett, and why is she the right pick in your mind?
Well, she is a great pick for President Trump for multiple reasons. First off, she's eminently qualified. She looks the part. She does have experience. Now, granted, not a lot, less than a year, but her writings have been impeccable. She has those conservative credentials that are so important to President Trump and his base. It will motivate his base. It will cement the support among the right-wing constituency that President Trump likes so much, and it will help him if he decides to run for president again in 2020. One of the top three reasons why people voted for President Trump was because of the judicial vacancies and the abilities to appoint someone to the Supreme Court. So this is a really important issue. And I think with someone like Judge Barrett, he will nail it.
Andrew, conservatives seem to like her. They talk about one of the issues that's been brought up both amongst conservatives, also in the so-called mainstream press, stare decisis, looking at precedent, especially as it pertains to Roe v. Wade. Talk to us about that.
That's a really important issue because Supreme Court justices are supposed to give deference to previous decisions, yet they do have the flexibility to be able to look at a decision and say, wait a minute, we got it wrong 20, 30, 40 years ago. Judge Barrett has said in her writing that she believes stare decisis is important, but that judges have to have the flexibility to solve and amend previous decisions. Now, that's really important with the 800-pound gorilla in the room, which is Roe versus Wade. If she's willing to basically look at previous decisions and overrule them, I think there's a real chance that should another abortion case come forward to the Supreme Court, she might be willing to basically buck previous precedent and overturn it, which obviously is the most important issue for many conservatives.
Well, and Andrew, that reveals maybe why those on the left have come out so stridently against her specifically. Her name has been in the press probably more than anyone else. She's criticized for a couple of things. As you mentioned, her Catholic faith has been criticized, and also, you alluded to it a little bit, but a lack of experience. Now, we know she's been a law professor. Is a lack of a paper trail actually a good thing? Is there a, how do you spin that or talk about that?
Well, it's a great thing. She's been on the Seventh Circuit for less than a year, so she doesn't quite have that record that some other justices and other judges would have in order to allow Democrats to attack her. Now, what's really interesting is that while she doesn't have the legal decisions, she does have a couple law review articles that she's written in 2003 and 2013. So we do get a feel for how she feels on many of these issues. Of course, we know about her personal background, so I think she's going to pass the test in terms of what conservatives want. But of course, the one thing they have to be careful of is that they don't get Souterized. Remember with Justice Souter, I mean, the conservatives at first were like, well, we think he's going to be fantastic. But in reality, he was much more liberal than what they thought because he didn't have that track record.
That's the fear of every conservative. I'm going to ask this of all the folks speaking on behalf of potential nominees. What justice, current or previous, would be most like Amy?
Oh, that's a hard one. I would probably go with Rehnquist because he wasn't a judge prior to be appointed to the Supreme Court. He had impeccable conservative credentials nonetheless and ended up being a real friend of the conservative cause. So I would probably compare her most favorably to someone like Rehnquist.
Interesting. Good stuff. Andrew Stoltmann, thank you for your time this morning. We appreciate it.
Anytime.
You got it.